Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think the Detroit Lions heard us loud and clear. And from what we heard in the press conference, Dan Campbell got with the fellas. He had something to say. We talked about it. There is no scapegoat this year. It's either Aaron Glenn or nothing. And Dan Campbell had some words. They said he was kind of hard to deal with this week. And we don't hear that about our coach, but he got them boys ready. He got them ready. Alex Anzalone, Brian Branch, Tracy Walker. I mean, the defense it's like everybody but Jerry Jacobs. It's like they heard what we had to say and they actually acted on it and made a difference. Held the Atlanta Falcons to 6 points. We got 7 sacks for a total of 8 after starting 2 games with 1. We had 7 sacks by 6 different Lions, and at least 4 of those sacks had to come from the defensive line, who, I was very hard on. And let me just be clear about something. I don't wobble. I don't wobble back and forth. I made a video about Brad Holmes and does he need to be held accountable? And I have not changed from that. I'm not going to say all of a sudden we don't need Chase Young. I'm not going to say all of a sudden we don't need Brian Burns. I'm not the one who wobbles. Okay. So I stay the course and I don't switch for anybody. You can find that on other channels, I'm sure. But when it comes to our Detroit Lions, they put on a show today in front of a absolutely ridiculously loud Ford Field. Dan Campbell said that his ears were reverberating. If you're watching the broadcast, you can see the camera actually shaking. It was so loud. But let's bring in the ESPN stats and check them out. The Detroit Lions had 18 first downs to the Atlanta Falcons 16. Passing first downs 11-9 for the Falcons. Detroit Lions had 5 rushing touchdowns. The Falcons had 3. First downs from penalties, Lions had 2. The Falcons had 4. Both teams were 4 for 14 on third down conversions. I think the offense got a little sloppy in that second, third, and early fourth quarter. And a surprise here. I know Dan wanted to do it, but he didn't. He chose to take the points, and the Detroit Lions did not have a fourth down attempt, and the Atlanta Falcons had that one near the end there. Total plays, very even, 64 for the Lions and 65 for the Atlanta Falcons. Look at this here. We held this team to under 200 yards total to the Detroit Lions, 358. Total drives, 12 apiece. We held them in total under 3 yards while we had exactly double that at 5.3. Passing yards, another 243 for the Detroit Lions to 139 for the Atlanta Falcons. We knew that was not their strong suit. Jared Goff went 22 for 33. Desmond Ridder went 21 for 38. Yards per pass, a whopping 3.1 for the Atlanta Falcons, and we more than doubled them, 7.4 for the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff with the 1 interception was crucial. Desmond Ridder should have had at least 2 there, but Tracy Walker was unable to corral them. We sacked this dude 7 times for a 62-yard loss, for 62 yards in losses. Jared Goff did not hit the dirt due to sacks, and with 0 sacks on our side. Check this out, man. Rushing. For them to have Bijan Robinson, they had 44 yards rushing. We had 115. Total rushing attempts, 31 for us, 20 for them. Yards per rush, 2.2 for them, 3.7 for us. Look at our red zone efficiency. We got to do better. We went 25%. If we go 75, then all of a sudden that's that is probably over 30 points. And the Falcons, they got in the red zone one time and was unable to score. Penalties, this is what killed us. This is disgusting. 10 penalties for 119 yards to their 4 for 24. And the turnovers were 1 apiece. A fumble was lost. That was at the on Desmond Ridder by Aiden Hutchinson. And then we threw the interception. I want to go and I want to look at the sack. Let's look at the sacks now. I think it is the box score here. And here we go. So if we go down here to defense, Detroit defense. Okay, we're going to talk about Brian. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Brian Branch, 11 total tackles. All of them were solo. He had 3 tackles for a loss. Definitely the defensive player in the game in my opinion. Jack Campbell sack. Aiden Hutchinson, so they did credit that second sack that near the beginning of the game, there was a sack, and I didn't know who they were going to give it to. They gave it to Hutch, so he's got 2 today. Charles Harris got 1. Derek Barnes got 1, and Lee McNeil got 1. Benito Jones got 1. I mean, you get a sack, and you get a sack, and you get a sack. Wow. What a showing by the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions had, and like I said, man, I think they heard what we had to say. We made some noise, and it paid off. But more impressive is Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell, we know what he is. He's very likable. Seems like a people person, but he got in them today. He got in them this week, telling them what they needed to hear, and we move up to 2-1. Lions could have been 3-0, could have been firmly secure with the division and had a chance to go up 2 for Green Bay. But I've been saying all offseason or leading up to this game that we needed to win this game. This was a must-win game, and it was, because all of a sudden, if we lose this game, we're now 1-2. The Packers scrape by again and get to 2-1, and now we're playing to be 2-2 on Thursday night. Thursday night's game is going to be huge. St. Brown came through big time. You know what? Let's look at the receivers. This is kind of just a wee bit concerning. And again, I'm not trying to be like a party pooper, but I'm a wee bit concerned. St. Brown is an absolute stud. 9 catches. Imagine if he doesn't play. 9 catches, 102 yards, still no touchdown during the game. Sam Laporta, 8 for 84 with 1 touchdown. Khalif Raymond and Jahmyr Gibbs. So let me get this straight. The entire day, 4 Detroit Lions were responsible for catches. And y'all saying we don't need a receiver. We made it happen. We got by. But imagine if we have a Mike Evans, a T. Higgins, or, God, bring Jamison Williams back. Bring Jamison Williams back. Where are we at when it comes to targets? I want to see receiving. Let me go up and see if I want to see Marvin Jones, because Marvin Jones had at least 1 target, but it was a pass interference or something in the end zone. I think illegal contact or something like that. So again, I'm not going to go back to from what I said. Give me a defensive tackle. Give me a defensive end. Shout out to Cam Sutton. Underrated today. Was pretty much sticking up. I want to say he was on Drake London. Kyle Pitts was having his way very early in the game. A lot of good to take away. It's going to be a good week. There is a lot of bad, though, that the more you look into the stats and you think about it, the penalties needed to be cleaned up. We had a pass-happy crew. Brian Branch, if you haven't seen it, it's a Twitter video where he was like, he's going to show Bijan that I'm not afraid to tackle you. And that Brian Branch is a steal. He is going to be phenomenal already. I'm calling it right now that he will win Defensive Player of the Week for the Detroit Lions. For the NFC. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Lot to talk about, a lot more to come this coming week. I got a special announcement tomorrow. You guys will probably know what it is if you were in the live stream. And with that being said, man, I'm tired, but it feels much better than when. Now we're going back to that winning feeling. The last week has been tough. It's been a rough 7 days, but we got to shake that. We come into week 4 on a short week with a win. Probably we'll have Emmanuel Mosley back. Maybe we'll get David Montgomery back as well. But even if he can't play, I will take Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs, man, I didn't even get a chance to talk about him today with I think he wound up having rushing. They gave him 80 yards on 17 carries. Bijan Robinson had 33 yards on 10 carries with a long of 11, and Jahmyr had a long of 21. A lot of stuff to take in, but the good outweighed the bad today, and I am ecstatic. I'm also tired. So you guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. Good win for the Detroit Lions, and as always, go Lions. Remember, I'm not the guy that wobbles. You should know better than that.